All right, now it's time for old Doc Booger's Pick of the Week, 13th episode. Woo! Chill, relax, unwind, unbutton that top button of your cardigan or your sports coat, and sit back and listen to a nerdy middle-aged man talk about the records he listened to this week. What more could you ask for out of life? Before I talk about the records I listened to this week, let me shout out to Euclid Records in New Orleans. This is the first record store in New Orleans that I fell in love with a few years ago, and I knew I was going to love it when I went straight to the easy listening section, and they had took good care of it. Now, they had put stuff in plastic sleeves. They had all kind of good stuff that Doc Booger loves. It was mostly in good shape. Wasn't like most record stores now where this like they got a bunch of rock records and they take good care of those, and you're like, hey, now I want to go look at the easy listening records. Where are those at? And they're like, hey, it's over there. And you look in the corner and they just got like this pile of records, and you look at them and it look like somebody had tossed them up to the top of the high school gymnasium and get the cobwebs down like Frisbee. They don't do like that at Euclid now. They have a good selection of stuff all over the genres. It's a huge store. I can never make my way through all of the sections before I have a huge stack of stuff. And their staff's really friendly and knowledgeable. Their prices are fair and often lower than Discogs for good, well-known stuff even. And as a plus, they're right by Pizza Delicious, which is my favorite pizzeria in town. So I always grab a couple of New York slices, fill up before I go to the record store, because when I get out of the record store, I'm not going to have any more money, brothers. I'm going to spend it all on records. I won't have no money to eat now. And you never know who you're going to meet in Euclid, which brings me to the first record of the week, Helen Gillet's The Wind Shakes the Trees. I spotted and recognized Helen in the record store at Euclid last week, and just like a fanboy, grabbed one of her albums off of the shelf at Euclid, which they had, and asked her to sign it for me, and she did. She was very friendly. She signed it to my daughter, who plays cello. And so Helen is a cello player, and she does live solo cello performance using like looping technology. And I know, like, you can kind of roll your eyes at, oh, another person doing looping. Like, a lot of people do looping now where they're like old boys playing by themselves, and it's like they're able to make 6 or 7 of themselves on top of each other. And sometimes it's real entertaining. This might not be something you want to listen to like on a record. Sometimes it's terrible. It sound like 7 awful guitar players all playing at the same time or something. This is none of that. This is a world-class cello player. She has jazz, classical, pop, avant-garde sensibilities, but she doesn't like play over the audience's head. She's great at crafting a musical narrative that's compelling and accessible, and it's just great stuff. Check out Helen Gillet. She may even be playing in your town sometime. She does a lot of traveling, a lot of playing around. Thank you now for signing old Doc Booger's record. Maybe one day Doc Booger will be in the record store and some old boy will be like, hey, now you going to sign this for me? And I'll say, sure, kid. Next up, we got Hugo Montenegro's soundtrack to Lady in Cement. This is the grooviest, nastiest Hugo Montenegro record I've ever heard, Jack, and I'm glad I picked this up last week at Euclid. I had passed it over about 3 times at 3 different visits before, and it was still there. So I figured I had to get it, and I'm glad I did. I mean, I would put this up against any great Lalo Schifrin 1970 soundtrack any day of the week. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of good percussion, and the Wrecking Crew guitarist Mike Deasy is all over this, just riffing it up, cutting loose with some fuzz guitar. That guy's played on all kinds of stuff, like the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds. He's played on Elvis records, Phil Spector productions, Nancy Sinatra, Frank Zappa, yada, yada, yada. Great guitarist, and, you know, the whole album's full of great musicians. Just groovy stuff right there, Jack. we got old Les Baxter with teen drums now. Come on now. Les Baxter's not just for Papaw to listen to. You can listen to him too, you old youngin'. You know, I was skeptical of this. I look at this and, you know, I know a lot of late 50s and early 60s albums, and even all over the time periods, the record companies get real gimmicky. And, you know, they might have a music album that's like chamber music with just an old boy hitting a cymbal every now and then. And they'd say, oh, well, you know, drums are the thing that the kids like. Let's just call this teen drums now. Well, this is not so with this. They actually did this right. I mean, it's a percussion forward album with sparse arrangements, and it's the follow-up to an album Les Baxter did called Skins, which is also percussion forward. Good thing they didn't call this Teen Skins now. So yeah, this is pretty hip happening stuff. It would appeal to any budding beatnik or Reuben Roughcut hooligan that you're trying to raise, because it's got the beats that make you move. A soundtrack to Altered States on Waxworks Records. Now, I was pretty scared when I was looking at this in the store, and it's not because of these freaky pictures. Now, it's because of this glitter. Y'all see that glitter all over this thing? Whew. Dot Booger's not scared of a lot of things, but glitter is one of them. And luckily, Waxworks did it right, and they like glued it in there, and the glitter can't bite me. Now it won't come out of there, it won't stick to me. But you know, they should call themselves Kellogg Records, because it just like to snap, crackle, and pop. Just like the last Waxworks I listened to of the Sentinel, this is a really noisy pressing. I feel like this record label is all about the artwork, the packaging, the goofy, gimmicky colored vinyl, and less so about quality control, which is a shame because this is an awesome soundtrack. Even the master sounds good, like the music sounds good, but there's all kind of snap, crackle, pop. I saw this movie for the first time in college, and old Dot Booger got real scared. Slept with underneath the covers, thought some old boy was going to eat a bunch of drugs and turn into a mutant slime monster and come and get me. You got anything else to say? So this is a newish band. I think maybe this came out in 2016. I'm not sure. I wasn't expecting much for it, but it was $5, so I figured I'd take a chance. And the name seems to call back to Twin Peaks series. Flesh World was the name of the fictional adult-themed magazine that was in that show. And I'm not sure what was in Flesh World, but I figured it couldn't be half bad if they're talking about a TV show I like now. I actually like this music. It's kind of indie rock that leans into the shoegaze sound a bit, somewhere in between Sonic Youth and My Bloody Valentine, and I like it. So, cement, a solid case of murder. This is something that I heard him the first time and thought for sure that I was listening to 1960s surf garage rock, some weird thing that somebody unearthed and reissued. But this is actually like newish stuff recorded in the 2000s. But it really sounds like old school stuff. It kind of has a Joe Meek vibe to it. The complaint I have here is that this is a 45 RPM record, and there's nothing on there that clued me into that. And I listened to half of the first side before realizing it, because you never know. Now, music sounds weird sometimes. Anyway, if you love surf rock, give this guy a try. Awesome stuff. The Girl That Was Frightened of Ashtrays is my favorite song on there. Some weird name like that. Anyway, next thing is Abdou El Omari with another album that I can't pronounce, brothers. I'm not going to even try it. This is some late 70s stuff, Moroccan music that was reissued. It was previously unreleased. This stuff is funky, but it's weird because I listen to it and it's not like any other funk, and my body wants to move to it, but you know, the sick dance moves that I have don't quite fit to it, and my body don't really know what to do, so I'm just kind of awkwardly doing this. The rhythms are accented on some odd beats, but it's definitely funky, and the percussion sounds awesome, and there's like this skanky wah guitar, rhythm guitar going on underneath this floaty, unpredictable Moroccan melodies played on an old analog synthesizer or organ. It's just a heck of a lot of fun album. If you're an adventurous listener into world stuff, I highly recommend this old boy. Next up, something that is undeniably funky in a familiar way, Funkadelic's One Nation Under a Groove. Now, I love old George Clinton. This is late 70s Funkadelic. It's still definitely Funkadelic, like guitar forward, but I feel like their late 70s stuff, they leaned into the Parliament sound a little bit, like the title track, which is awesome. They kind of run with that synth bass hook that was so great for Parliament and their 1977 album with Flashlight and whatnot. But to me, the sleeper song on here is PE Squad, Doo-Doo Chasers. Yep, Doo-Doo Chasers now, which was on a bonus 7-inch that came with this album, which unfortunately this copy is missing, that bonus 7-inch. But now there is a 12-minute version of Doo-Doo Chasers on here, which, you know, Doo-Doo Chasers is this awesome funk instrumental. It's beautiful. And, you know, the 7-inch is just a instrumental, but on here it's like they stretch the length to about 12 minutes, and it's got a lot of spoken word vocals, like clowning, like just straight up George Clinton clowning, saying all kind of crazy stuff, which is cool now, but it kind of ruins the song a bit. That's like one of the best Funkadelic songs to me. So good. Next up, boy, oops, cable's stuck there. Oh boy, Jack. Next up, we got Porter Wagoner, Skid Row Joe, Down in the Alley. Look at old Skid Row Joseph. But look at him now, really. He's supposed to be an outcast. To me, he's better dressed than most people I meet these days. And he only looks about half as crazy as the people I meet in 2024, even though it looked like he might have accidentally turned something loose in his brown britches there. Now, if you like country music, but you tired of this new pop country stuff where they make all these elaborate human interest narrative songs, this is the album for you, Jack. It's not uptown like that. They just singing about bums and hobos, wallering in the streets and winos and whatnot. And it's Porter Wagoner's good old big twangy voice, and you got your good RCA studio musicians twanging it up. It's just a good old late 60s country album. And my favorite line is, if I buy the bread, I can't afford the wine.
If I buy the bread, I can't afford the wine.
If I buy the pizza, I can't afford the records. No. Next up, we got the cosmic sounds of the Zodiac. This is a Mort Garson project, and you listen to it, you immediately know you're listening to Mort Garson, Jack, because it's catchy and it's just real weird and it's psychedelic. And you're having a good time listening, and then all of a sudden, old boy starts talking on top about all kind of weird cosmic ideas that Doc Booger gets real confused about. And it kind of ruins the music, brothers.
Ares is first to face the flames.
Really?
The cause is lost in smoke, for only the friction is holy.
Oh, damn.
royal fingers and diamonds on his regal toes. Quick, find another fire.
But I don't think I've done this right. They said listen to this in the dark, and I had the lights on full blast. So I'm probably gonna have to play that one again. Now, it's gonna sound like can't say much about this that hasn't already been said. I like the album. I love it. I grew up listening to the cassette tape. Loved Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland stuff. I only recently started learning about the vinyl pressing. A few years ago, I learned that there's like 36 cover variations where there's different like color arrangements and picture arrangements. And this week, I also learned that the early pressings were pressed on purple translucent vinyl that looks black, but when you hold it up to the light, it's actually translucent. And what do you know? This is one of those. Good for Booger. Yay, yay, yay. It make me think of Scooby-Doo and the gang vacationing in New Guinea, eating pancakes and looking for gold, dancing with the natives, and there's no mysteries to solve because everything's groovy, you dig? All right. And finally, we got the pick of the week. Merle Travis, Walkin The Strings. This was recorded in the late 40s and early 50s at the peak of Merle Travis's career, the peak of his abilities. And I'm a huge fingerstyle, like old school fingerstyle guitar player fan, of Chet Atkins and whatnot. And to me, this is one of the most important albums of that style. He recorded this stuff for a radio guy, and they were going to use most of this for bumpers, like in between radio programs. So most of this is these short instrumentals. The producer would say, hey, play something for 90 seconds. He would play. And then there's some vocal tunes on here too, where it's just him and the acoustic guitar. And that's all it is Merle Travis and a Martin D28 acoustic guitar. It's the best acoustic guitar sound I've ever heard on a record, and his playing is just so captivating and so unique. Chet Atkins heard him on the radio and tried to play like him, but ended up playing completely different because it's so hard to play the way that Merle Travis plays. If you know much about the style, it's just the way he uses his right hand and even his left hand is just very odd. And you're also going to get immersed in a dialect where minnows become minners and banjos become bangers and Jonah becomes Joner.
I want you to listen to these words and see if you don't think he was kidding me just a little bit. Mr. Darby lived down on the creek, and when he told a tale, every minner in the creek got bigger than Jonah's whale. We used to... Any of y'all that ever knowed anybody that picked one of these old-fashioned five-string banjos, sure as the world have heard him pick this tune here. It's called Jordan and My Hard Road to Travel. Well, look, before they cut him down, now the butcher man that cut his throat was drowned in the blood.
Damn.
And the little boy that held the pan was washed away in the flood.
That got dark, Jack.
You biggin' boys, wasn't he biggin'?
The vocal tunes at first, you can kind of laugh it off, and I didn't like them that much at first, but they grew on me a lot. And I really love his version of Precious Lord, Take My Hand. It's the best version of that song I've ever heard. If I can only have one Merle Travis album, this would be the one I'd want to have now. And so that's all I got for you this week. Whew, that was a lot of talking. Why don't y'all go do something else for a while, say hi to y'all mama and them, and come back and look at Booger's Pick of the Week next week. Don't forget to look in the description for a link to YouTube playlist of choice tracks and a link to the Discogs list that has all the albums I listened to this week along with text reviews of each album. See you now.